and welcome to our June 2022 Near Town Hall. We promised you it was going to be big. This one is very big. We're in consensus and super happy to be here. It's actually incredible to see the number of builders and the number of companies that are here. And we're super excited to actually share with you some of the best things that have been happening at Near over the last 12 months, what's coming up, and some of our recent announcements. So what are we going to actually cover today? Well, part one is actually going to be Ilya and myself. And Ilya, it's great to have you. It's been a while since you haven't been on the town hall. So Ilya and myself are going to look at last 12 months and last 6 months, what's been happening on Near and in the ecosystem and what's coming up. After that, next, we'll have Jack, our new CMO, introduce and present some of the biggest news that we've been sharing here at Consensus. And it's been big and we're super proud of the announcements that have come up. Next up, we'll actually look at upcoming events because yes, today we're in Consensus, but actually there is so many super cool events that are coming up. One in particular, NearCon, put that and mark that in your agenda. It's coming up, it's in Lisbon, it's going to be in September. And next after that, we wanted to share with you actually some of the behind the scenes of Consensus. Our team has been on the ground interviewing quite a few people and we'll share insights into what's going on at Near, but also behind the scenes in Consensus. The last part of the town hall is probably the thing that we're actually most excited about. We told you this one was going to be big, and it is very big. We have Mila Kunis joining us to share actually how and why she's excited about Armor Kingdom and what it means for Near. And now I'm going to hand over to Ilya so that he can actually share with you the last 12 months of Near and what's coming up.
Great, let's dive into the state of the Near ecosystem. But before that, I want to remind everyone the mission that Near has is a world where people have control of their data, assets, and power of governance. It's really about users and people in the world in general to be in control, to be able to have a voice, to have low switching costs between any platform and any provider, an open web world. And to achieve that, we need to build a next generation platform. We need an infrastructure that can power this, that can be accessible and simple to use for billions of users and millions of developers. It needs to be scalable enough to handle trillions of transactions and ability to really not crumble under load when billions of users are actually actively using it. And it needs to be secure. It needs to be not just protect on economic security that blockchains already do, but be able to protect the user and an investor from any kind of malicious activity. And this is what Near is trying to build. But beyond that, we need to be sustainable. We have, the most non-fungible asset we have is our planet, and it's really important to continuously push on sustainability and on how we can improve our planet's state. Near is really proud to be climate neutral, partnering with South Pole, and it's really exciting to see a number of projects who are building on Near ecosystem with this mission of sustainability. The near future is billions of users, and our audacious goal is to bring 1 billion users, and we actually, since the launch of mainnet 18 months ago, are 1% complete. As you can see, we are accelerating. The growth of the user base is continuously accelerating thanks to a lot of the applications, a lot of partners, and a lot of you coming into the ecosystem. Just to kind of highlight over past 12 months, we had over 600 projects in the ecosystem. And so developers, builders that are coming in, that are building something exciting. Over 500,000 people joined our community, which I'm welcome everyone. We had, as I said, a tremendous growth, over 6,000% growth in past 12 months in the number of accounts. And we hope to sustain this rate of growth in coming years. Number of transactions, but more importantly, we're one of the biggest developer ecosystems and one of the fastest growing, bringing like over 2,500 developers building every day. And we see that continuously going even with all the events over the past few months. So it's really exciting. The ecosystem is growing faster than ever, and we welcome everyone to continuously build and bring people to the platform. Now, the ecosystem has been evolving. A year ago, when we launched, it was just Near Protocol and Near Foundation. And over past 12 months, we actually had a number of kind of entities, companies, projects that are appearing, that are building, that are providing core pieces of the ecosystem. And kind of the three main categories, right, is the infrastructure pieces that are really built around Near protocol as an open source project. It's go-to-market and kind of eco-fund, which is what Near Foundation kind of kickstarted, but now we have a lot of other pieces in the ecosystem, and obviously the applications kind of across different verticals, kind of majorly grouped in DeFi, creator economy, and kind of social digital cooperatives. The protocol has been evolving, right? There's a reason why we're called Near, and one of them is we're never perfect, and it's always about the progress. It's always about kind of iterating and innovating. And so over past 12 months, the protocol actually had 19 protocol upgrades that actually happened on a network without skipping a beat. The focus of the team has been on stability and performance. It's been focusing on how to make sure that network continuously running under any circumstances, and that the performance of each shard, of each smart contract is improving. Specifically, the WebAssembly, the basis of our kind of smart contract platform, of our execution environment, has had a major performance improvement, which allowed for things like Aurora, but even more interestingly, it allowed for things like JavaScript. Now I'll talk a little bit more about it. And at the same time, the simple nightshade, right, the first step toward kind of our broader sharding roadmap has been launched, and now we approach in the second step. The global sharding roadmap, right, for Near always been to launch in steps, and we kind of split it into 4 major phases, with phase 0 being a running sharded network, but still requiring everyone to validate it. And so it's launched in November 2021. Which was super exciting, and importantly, it had 0 impact on developers or users. Right, we're running sharded network, and no user needs to know about anything what's going on under the hood. The next step is coming in September, and I'm really excited about it because it allows to extend the number of validators. It kind of kicks in the next phase of our sharding, of our nightshade. And obviously, the kind of following phase is turning off the block producers, which are validating every single shard, and turning on the challenges, pretty much going into a fully sharded mode that can continuously scale with number of shards. Beyond that, we still have the dynamic resharding, which is what truly will enable kind of scaling with the demand, right? Right now, to change number of shards, you need a governance vote, you need validators to come together. But with dynamic resharding, we're going to have a fully automatic way of scaling the network. Now, there is no launch without testing, and it's has been one of the most important pieces kind of relaunching. We want to have a big kind of community gathering for this battle test. So we're gonna be launching a new stake course. If you've been around with Near ecosystem, you've probably heard of it in 2020 and 2021, but this is a stake course 3. This is about testing chunk-only producers. This is about kind of amassing a lot more validators and a lot of more participants on this network. So join. You can sign up at near.org decentralize. It's about battle testing. It's about kind of pushing the limits of what Near infrastructure can do. Now, zooming out of Near protocol, there's a number of other infrastructure providers, right, that are in ecosystem that are building, and kind of to highlight few, we have Pagoda, which is a new Web3 startup platform, Calimera, which is the private shard, and they're building a number of very important projects. Near being focused on developer experience, being focused on bringing the developers. From the start, we were trying to figure out how to bring the most known language, the programming language that I think over 18 million developers know, JavaScript, to the platform. We had some approaches before, but with the performance improvement, with kind of what we've developed in the past year, we were able to achieve a fully compatible JavaScript running on Near with smart contracts. What this means is any JavaScript developer, any web developer can now come in and build on Near infrastructure. And this is really exciting because we'll see lots and lots of experimentation happening. We obviously had a number of major improvements to Rust SDKs, to testing frameworks, to kind of all the developer tooling. We've seen Infura and MetaMask launching as well, support for Near to provide developers better tooling, and really exciting kind of evolution of frameworks that people are using to consume data from Near infrastructure. I'm also really excited to see kind of the education platforms that are being kind of growing in Near ecosystem. Near University being one of the drivers, onboarding more and more developers, teaching them how to build, how to transition from Web 2, and getting certified developer program going, kind of onboarding people who actually know how to build on the ecosystem. So a number of infrastructure providers, I mean, there's a number more, like not everything fits on the slide, but kind of all this is really building the basis, building the foundation of the Near infrastructure. At the same time, interoperability being one of the major pieces we've been involved from the start. And it started with Rainbow Bridge, with the ability to connect to Ethereum, with the ability to connect to other chains. It expanded to Aurora with support of EVM, with support of, for developers who are building on Ethereum ecosystem to come in and easily launch in the Near. And at the same time, to bring app chains, to bring a application-specific side chains which are needed to build very specific use cases which can connect directly to Near ecosystem through Octopus network. There's a number of more interoperability projects in the works, which are not live yet, and really exciting to see, and invite everyone to continue expanding on this. Now, we're not just decentralizing the development. We're not just decentralizing the platform, we're also decentralizing the funding, right? Near Foundation started as kind of a beacon ecosystem in the ecosystem, but it continuously evolving and continuously kind of pushing the functionality to the ecosystem itself to become sustainable, to become long-term viable. And so kind of an important piece being distributing funding, creating eco-funds in the ecosystem that are able to find the best developers and fund them and support them. And so there's a number of verticals where there's now specialized groups working on it. To name a few, Proximity being a huge driver of finance, of DeFi, of finance in the Near ecosystem, working across a lot of projects, helping build missing pieces and then helping them launch them. We have Human Guild that's been working directly with game developers, giving them grants to get them started, helping them launch, helping them with token economics. We have a number of eco funds like Move, like MetaWeb, and we have a number of other verticals starting up, sustainability and creator economy being just to name a few. Now, the kind of vertical distribution and decentralization is important, but the other important aspect is geography. To be a truly global ecosystem, we need to be local, we need to be present, we need to be everywhere. And Near community is everywhere already, and to really celebrate it and concentrate, the regional hubs are being built around the world. We already have few launched in China, in Balkans, in Kenya, and sadly Ukrainian hub, which got relocated to Portugal. But the whole ecosystem is continuously evolving. A number of hubs are coming across the world, and if you want to be part of this, please reach out to us. The goal is really to have local presence, local events and community, have local funding, and people who understand the market to truly bring the values of Near, to truly surface the power that this Web3 and Near infrastructure can provide. Going back to the verticals, right? There is a specific kind of creator economy triangle that we've been talking about, and to just surface a little bit of examples, right? There's kind of a creator economy that really is a source of new value, is a place where creators and people can come in. It's, across music and art, it's gaming, it's all of the ways people try to expose their creativity. And obviously exciting to see Armor Kingdom here. There's a number of games that are launching, and check out Human Guild's video for a full-fledged demos. And at the same time, the NFTs is what backs it, right? NFTs is a technology, and we have a number of NFT marketplaces and a number of NFT projects powering that. That creativity is what kind of onboards more people. This onboarding becomes social, right? We see a lot more social been built around creator communities as well as other communities. For example, Orange DAO is an exciting development of, developers and founders coming and forming a DAO to kind of learn from each other, to form projects, to continuously develop. And all that, is using DAO tooling, but at the end, it's actually a social interaction, a social ecosystem. And social and creator then turns into finance. At the end, this kind of economy is what makes makes us attractive and interested for people to join. And so there's a finance side. There's a lot of tooling that bridges traditional finance and the crypto, and as well as all the crypto native applications that have been built. Now, this all is great, but it's been missing one piece. And the piece is to bring users who are not yet in the ecosystem, who are not yet in crypto. And this is where things like Aurora Plus, right? Ability to transact without fees, Sweatcoin, Tracer, Nearcrowd, ability to earn while doing work or while moving, while doing something, being able to onboard into the ecosystem became extremely important. And so this is how this creator economy is continuously expanding, with bringing more and more users from the top. Now, this is where we are. Where we're going is actually building more and more very concrete protocols that are delivering on what kind of Web 2 right now has, and Web 3 is struggling. This is social graph, this is gig protocol, reputation, content, certification. All of the things that right now are still living in Web 2 are still controlled by a centralized party. This is the data you use every day that does not belong to you. You sign the permissions off. These all protocols are coming. They will be enabling a new slew of use cases and of composability. And beyond the use cases, there's a lot of research that's happening on how do we secure the user? How do we protect the user? How do we define that you are not lost all your assets if you lost your seed phrase? How do we do better AI? AI is becoming an important piece of our life, and it needs to be community governed. Beyond that, how the governance would work and how we achieve privacy. Blockchains are transparency engines. We need, I think, a lot more about privacy. And as a beyond research for as we finish up with dynamic sharding, we are thinking more about how we can create a even more scalable sharding with synchronicity. So there's a lot of exciting things. Probably not going to finish all of this in a year, but we're going to make a tremendous progress, and I'm inviting everyone to contribute to this. And now I want to pass it to Marique to highlight some of the successes of the ecosystem.
So following up on the presentation of Ilya of an overview of the last 12 months and what's coming up, what I'm going to share actually with you now is actually a deep dive into what's been happening in the ecosystem over the last, let's say, 5.5 months, almost 6 months. So what happened in January? Well, in January, I joined, best decision ever, loving every day of it. And in January, we actually also announced our first tranche of the fundraise for 150 million from some top class investors. January was also a month where we actually saw a lot of rise in the creator economy of Near. Paras, for example, reached 5 million in trading volume and had its first project reaching 1 million in trading volume with the Antisocial Ape Club. Play to earn was definitely a trend in the months of January, and we saw some super exciting new games, such as, for example, Crypto Heroes and Land to Empire. Now, last but not least, one of the things we actually wanted to highlight for the months of January was the first ever proof-of-stake storage solution with Machina built on Near. Let's look at February. February was definitely marked by ETH Denver, which was an amazing event, and a lot of you were probably actually there. At ETH Denver, we announced Pagoda, the world's first Web3 startup platform. Time ago launched as one of the first streaming platforms on Near. And if there's one trend that actually we can say for the month of February is that it was an NFT month. NearTracker.io actually entered Near and is a platform that enables us to start tracking more and more of the data of what's happening on the NFT side. Near Knots entered an exclusive partnership with Ref, allowing holders to actually start staking their NFTs, one of the first of its kind, pushing the envelope of what's possible. Speaking of DeFi, we saw more and more partnerships such as Ref and Spin, and a couple of very exciting fundraisers from Ref and Origami, both from very high-quality investors. Now, last but not least, Near Social launched their beta platform, bringing one of the first social networks to Near. Let's go on and look at March. While a lot of positive news happened in the ecosystem, it's true to say that in our hearts and minds, March will remain forever dark months, and the war in Ukraine was and remains a shock. It was phenomenal to see actually how quickly the Near community rallied along the side of Unchained Fund, which kicked off and raised a ton of money. We actually raised over 10 million across 14 different cryptocurrencies. Half of that was from Near. A huge thank you to the community for the contribution on Unchained DAO. On a positive front, we actually announced quite a few partnerships. CellGP and Orange DAO were some of those partnerships. Not only that, but we saw also NearPay launch its first beta version, KyberSwap and Bastion launching on Aurora, and also raising large round from Jane Street. Near also hit a major milestone in the month of March, with over 100 million total transactions. April felt like spring. Definitely a lot of things were up in the air, and the ecosystem saw new flourishing projects like Spring Flowers. Burrow raised 5 million from Dragonfly. The Antisocial Ape Club continued their growth and became the first NFT project to actually surpass 200,000 in Near in volume. Flux secured 3 billion in value across Near and Aurora. And OFP formalized the partnership with the Ivory Coast to restore 20% of their forest. Decentral Bank launched USN. And not only that, but we actually saw winners announced for the MetaBuild Hackathon for the first of the quarter. Congratulations, Vogue. In April, we were also in Paris, and that's where we announced our partnership with Sweat, which already in April had 1 million wallets being created on Near. Last but not least, in April, we also announced the second part of the close of our fundraise for 350 million, led by Tiger Global, bringing our total fundraise to over $500 million. The month of May went from strength to strength. We surpassed 10 million wallets, and we're actually currently at 13 million wallets, thanks in large part to Sweat creating 7 million new wallets in a very short amount of time. Near was acclaimed the fastest growing blockchain with over 3x growth year over year in addresses. The month of May also saw our first insurance protocol, InsurAce. We started launching more and more local regional hubs, and Kenya was the hub that was launched in May. Tamago raised $1 million, Curve Finance integrated with Aurora, and on the Aurora front, we actually saw a 90 million fund grant in projects in partnership with Proximity. And we're now in June. It's only a couple of weeks or days, actually in the months, but it's fair to say that this month is shaping up to be one of our most exciting months. We're currently at Consensus, as we actually shared with you, and we have a handful of amazing announcements that Jack, our new CMO, will share with you very shortly. Not only that, but I'm sure you guys have seen, we also have Fireblocks that's coming up. We have Apollo 42, which is a beautiful NFT new marketplace, which is very soon launching. And on the community events and side, we've had the launch of the Balkan region and Metapool sponsoring the Near Hacker House this week in Austin. Whoa, so much has happened over the last 5.5 months. There's a say in crypto that every day feels like weeks, and it's actually very true. It's packed, it's actually very exciting, and there's a lot of things that are going on. We can't wait to see what the next 6 months will bear and all the great things that actually will be built on Near. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Jack, our new CMO, to share some of the most exciting announcements that we've actually shared here at Consensus.
Thank you, Marique, and hello to everyone. I'm hugely excited to be joining the Near Foundation and to play my part in taking Web3 to the mainstream. I'm a big believer that centralized structures and organizations don't and have never had people at heart. And I think decentralization puts the power back into people's hands to create a fairer and more inclusive society. So since the last 4 weeks since I've joined, I've spent most of my time meeting and listening to people within the ecosystem and beyond, including many people here at Consensus. And what's really struck me is just how passionate, vibrant and diverse our ecosystem is, and what incredible ideas we have and what stories and journeys that people have been on. It's been truly inspiring to listen and to meet so many great folks within our community. So alongside some of the big partnerships that we're doing, I think moving forward we'll be accelerating ways in which we can activate our ecosystem and provide better support to our projects. Part of that will be leveraging all the amazing stories and journeys of our founders, developers and community members to inspire more people to join the Web3 movement. And I'm looking forward to meeting more of you from the ecosystem over the next few weeks. Now, on to the 3 big announcements that we have released here at Consensus. Okay, so on to the first big announcement. We're excited to announce a major new entertainment franchise, Armored Kingdom. A new multi-platform global entertainment universe is coming to Near to reshape Web3 trading card games, digital comics, animation, and film. Founders include acclaimed producers and creators, including Mila Kunis, who we'll be hearing from later on our panel, so sit tight. Armored Kingdom follows several tribes of warring medieval dynasties as they battle for power with the aid of Amorite, a powerful, mysterious metal. The Armored Kingdom team will be launching a series of games and comics that will be built on the Near protocol to help bring the new digital economy to the masses with our established industry players. The second big announcement, we've been talking about this over the last few months, is Sweat. I can say that the movement economy is well and truly underway, and we've hit a big milestone, have 10 million wallets opened already on Near through the Sweat app. It's a huge milestone in bringing Web3 to the masses and really reinventing how people can generate value for themselves in a move-to-earn economy. Lastly, we're excited to announce that the privacy-first browser Brave is leveraging Aurora to launch its own Brave wallet that will bridge the Ethereum and Near communities. This integration will mean that Brave users can buy, sell, and store Aurora tokens directly in the Brave wallet. With the new wallet, there'll be a host of Web3 functionality supported, such as NFTs and swaps, all of which will be in the protection of the privacy-preserving in-browser wallet. All of these announcements are incredibly important for the future advancement of Web3 and mass adoption, and I'm really excited to be able to announce them here at Consensus. Now, I'm handing over to Yadira, who will be walking us through our upcoming events, including more exciting information on our flagship event, NearCon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yadira. I lead events here at Near Foundation. It's been a thrilling week being in Austin for Consensus, tons of people here. And I'm really thrilled to also fill you in on 2 big events that are coming up into this next quarter. So first up, we have NearCon. We'll be doubling down in size this year, and we'll be activating from September 12th through the 14th. This year, we're going to the waterfront. We'll be at a gorgeous warehouse just across the street from Time Out. One thing I'd like to call out is that we've opened the call for speakers, so head to nearcon.org and get your application submitted. We'll be featuring everything from protocol news, upgrades, updates, dev technical workshops, everything from regulation to governance to sustainability and more. So definitely get your submissions ASAP. And we'll go ahead and be in Paris this July. So for those of you who love ETHCC, we are big fans. We will be there again this year. Last year, Near was a sponsor. This year, Aurora will be sponsoring. Alex Shevchenko will be hosting a session on one of their stages. And the Near ecosystem will be putting together a co-working lounge, similar to what we did at ETH Denver, but with a Parisian flair. We'll be within walking distance from the Maison venue, where ETHCC is traditionally held. And here you'll be able to break away from the hustle and bustle, go ahead and grab a coffee, refuel, connect with other Nearians, and maybe join one of the curated sessions that we'll be hosting. That's it. So we'll go ahead and see you in Paris this July. And now I'll hand it over to David Morrison, who will give you a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening here on the ground at Consensus.
Hi everyone, I'm here at Austin, Texas at Consensus 2022. I am joined by the main man himself, Ilya, the founder of Near Protocol. How are you doing, Ilya?
It's not bad. Yeah, it's a busy day, but pretty exciting.
There's a bit of a market downturn right now, but people tend to say that that's the best time to build. So what are you excited about coming out of this bear market, so we call it?
I mean, there are two things. One is, so we started in like August 2018. So the market, at least like generally considered for crypto, was going down and continued going down and was going down probably like more. And so compared to where we were then, right now is not a bear market. At the same time, I think any kind of shake up over correction is always good in a way that it allows people to like focus on long term, focus on creating sustainable models, creating sustainable businesses.
So is there any favorite crypto projects that are either here at Consensus or aren't that you'd like to shout out?
Look, I think some of the ones that are really exciting that are working within the Near ecosystem that we've actually supported recently are Mintbase and some of the projects that they've been building in the NFT space, as well as Paras, which is a secondary marketplace, which has been pretty exciting.
What do you think it is about Near's crypto culture that makes it so inclusive?
Yeah, I think apart from the great tech that we have, I think the welcoming community plays a huge role in that, and thanks to you and the work that you're doing on the community side. But also, like in general, I think it goes to the culture of what Near is trying to build, right? Both from the foundation perspective as well as like percolating it down to the communities that we're building. And it's also inspiring a lot of people to like play the hand-holding role, right? Like be the mentor that you've never had in your life.
I like to think about culture as far as first, diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. So I think that compared to a lot of other organizations in Web3, I found that the Near Foundation is especially bullish on diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just as something that you check off of a box, but it's really integral to creating a decentralized future.
Why is Near the #1 place for developers to go and for people to build on top of in order to achieve that vision?
Well, for me, there's one thing. It's usability, right? And when I think of usability, I think like if we truly want mass adoption, we need things to be super simple. If you look at our Sweat integration, for example, it's just seamless. Things work and end users don't even have to know that this is based on blockchain.
Can you tell us a little bit more about Pagoda, what it is that you guys do?
Yeah, so Pagoda is a startup platform for Web3, right? So if you want to come and you want to build a startup or you want to build a certain application, we have all the tools for you. So if you are a developer, you can build your analytics. If you want to build an application, like come and use our tools and you'll be in the right place.
So you've been in Austin for a little while now. Can you give us like the top 5 things you've done in Austin or the top 2 things, whatever it might be? And you can't just say drink, right?
Okay, all right, now you put me in a tight predicament. I think I'd say #1 has been surviving the heat. #2 has definitely been going out to all the fantastic eateries surrounding Austin. There's some beautiful places to eat. Definitely meeting fellow Nearists. It's my first time actually meeting people from Near. It's been incredible. And there's some really good springs and lakes as well, so definitely check those out if you are in Austin as well.
So what is it that made you pick Near Foundation, right? Because there's tons of projects out there.
Yeah, sure. Near's the real deal, right? It's the right tech, it's got the right people, it's got the right long-term vision, and I found that really exciting, right? It's making the projects out there can bring their ideas to life in a simple, seamless, scalable way, and Near has addressed quite a lot of the problems that other chains haven't been able to address.
Thanks, David. It was great to have some behind the scenes here at Consensus and to see what's really happening on the ground. And now it is with great pleasure that I can announce our next panelist with the Armored Kingdom team. We're super proud to be partnering with Armored Kingdom to help redefine the future of fandom. And now, without further ado, I'll let you watch and enjoy the panel with Mila, Sharad, Lindsay, and Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Near Town Hall meeting live during Consensus. We have some amazing, amazing folks joining us to make a pretty impressive announcement during this town hall meeting. You're just going to be blown away. So just wanted to introduce myself, Kathy Hackle. I am a metaverse thought leader. I'm, popularly known as the godmother of the metaverse. And I am just thrilled to be here because we have some truly breaking news in the industry that is going to have, I think, ripple effects. And you guys are going to want to know everything about it. So I want to kind of introduce the folks that are joining me. All of them really need no introduction, but really excited to have them here for a very special reason. So we are joined by Mila Kunis, who you guys all probably know. We're also joined by Sharad Devarajan, who is an icon in the comic world. He's the godfather of comics. We just decided to name him. We also have Lisa Sterbakov, and also Lindsay McInerney, and they have all come together. All these visionaries have come together to launch something today. And I kind of wanted to maybe start off with Mila, you sharing with everyone here in the town hall exactly what you guys are launching today, which is just fascinating.
Okay, boy, I'll try to give you like the elevator version, because the short and long of it is I spent a lot of my youth playing video games. And so it was one of those where I felt like by playing it, you're like the coach in the sidelines and you think you know better, or you're like the viewer at home and you think you know better than the coach. That's how I feel about certain gaming qualities that I think I possess. And Lisa and I spent a lot of our 20s prior to having kids playing a lot of board games and a lot of video games and a lot of card games. And we decided to venture into NFTs a while ago. And we did that, and I like to say we did it successfully. And I was like, well, I think I know what the next venture should be. And I think that she was hoping I'd say another NFT. And I was like, no, I want to take down the gaming community. And so, which is like a small feat. We ended up, Hugh Sterbikoff created this multiverse game, I should say. It's called Armored Kingdom. And the idea behind it is I wanted to create an IP, a world that has a multi-use to it. So the idea behind Armored Kingdom is it is based in story, it's based in characters and theme. That is what Lisa and I do naturally anyways with production on the traditional side. And so all of this started out with character development. And we built out this world called Armored Kingdom. And we wanted to put out comic books that went along with it, because obviously everything needs an origin story. And that's when we went after Liquid Comics and Sherrod, and we were like, I know this is crazy. Just think about it for a second. We want to build like a Lord of the Rings. And he was like, yeah, okay. And so we ventured into that. That's going to be the first installment out of Armored Kingdom, is like the origin story of all of our species and who they are, where they come from, what the in is and the why. We're going to be dropping those. There's a gaming element to it that we're going to be dropping a couple months from now. That's going to be like a card game where you can duel each other with cards. There's going to be armors that we're going to be dropping. There's toolboxes. It's going to be really interactive, really, really fun. Then after that, we're going to be dropping an animated series to kind of continue along the legacy and the story of that. So
Awesome.
That's what we're doing. We're building out an entire amazing multiverse called Armored Kingdom.
I love it. And this is the first time anyone has heard of it. This is like, we're sharing it here in this near town hall. Amazing. So, I mean, all of you guys are master storytellers in whatever, in your different industries, right? Because you guys combine a lot of different things. Yeah. So I'd love to hear which, from each one of you. Like Sherrod, when Mila came to you with this idea, when Mila, Lisa and the team came to you with this idea, what was like, how did you react? What did you think? I mean, because you probably had, the wheels started turning, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, first, I think no one can ever say no to Mila and Lisa. So if they come to me with anything, it's exciting. And this was by far one of the most exciting things I'd heard, because it forced a lot of just ways we think about how do we create multi-platform stories for the world to know. Mm-hmm. And, I think a lot of people are creating stories very linearly, like a TV or a film or a comic, and then licensing to other partners. But the goal and mission of this was, how do we really think of all of these pieces from the ground up? How do we really immerse people into a world? And, I think as, the godmother of the metaverse, right? Like, we know that the future of the metaverse is going to be some sort of unique storytelling combination where we take people into worlds. And, that's what totally was so amazing about what Mila had shared with me, from what Hugh and Lisa and all of them had been working on, was they were thinking much more world first. And the narrative around that would enhance every part of the gameplay, every part of people feeling more and more immersed. So for my love of comics, fantasy, sci-fi, genre, and really my love of bringing stories together from East and West and trying to combine how do we connect the world through different mythologies, different stories. This was an opportunity to create like a modern myth, do something I feel that, my passion, fantasy, sci-fi, you're combining the two, bringing together sort of Game of Thrones meets Independence Day and figuring out how to combine all of these elements is pretty awesome. But, from a comic book animation, live action, but more importantly, from a story narrative and connecting people to actually feel a level of ownership and commitment.
I think the one thing, Sherrod, don't you find this to be true? At least we did. We had people contact us as a company after video games came out and after card games came on, board games, and they would come to us and be like, now create the movie or create the show. And it would be really hard to do because you're trying to reverse engineer something that doesn't exist. And so I think for us, the most important thing was having the story, having the folklore, having the rules of the game make sense. Like everything it makes sense. And then building the tech part of it, that's where we went and got Lindsay and we went and hired the entire team to go and do. That was the secondary part for us, was creating the coding aspect of it, or the building, the engineering aspect. But the game, the foundation of the game is very true and very honest.
Yeah, and 100% agree. I think the 90% of successful things that we're seeing are being licensed from one part to another. They're being thought of, in one silo first. And I think that's where we can change the rules of how a new media franchise is built, how a new story is built, and really engages with fans at so many different dimensions. And that's the hope, right? But obviously the goal of what we're trying to do is to go into the unknown, both in terms of process and in terms of execution, right?
Yeah.
Try and deliver something that is new and will have, immensely different challenges than some of the challenges we've all faced in traditional producing or, traditional kind of media projects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think when we talk about that, Lisa, I mean, you've been producing content forever. You've been telling stories in many different ways. I'd love to hear about how you are working with Lindsay. Lindsay's like the tech person here who's actually, taking the idea and implementing it and making it real. It's, doing the hard tech part. How are you guys working together to enable Armored Kingdom? I mean, because you guys must be, it has to be, it's almost like Lindsay was the missing piece. And then now you guys have all the pieces to be able to kind of pull this off. So.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. And I think the wonderful thing about Lindsay is like Mila and I and Sharad, we have ideas. Like and when we talk about the way this game is being developed, it's actually being developed and innovated from story ideas that we have. And so we have all these crazy ideas, and it's like, well, what if we could do this? And as gamers, we've always had that like what if sort of idea and that sort of moment. And so we can go to Lindsay and go, what if? And then put something out in the world that's insane. And she's like, okay, actually, I think we can do that. Nobody's done it before. So we'll need to like figure some stuff out here, but I think we can actually make that happen. And so she's basically taking our crazy ideas, which, by the way, this what if game is the game that you play when you're creating stories all the time. That's what we do. What if this, what is that? And so we get to do this now and then put that into product and put that into game, which is a whole new exciting way for me to be able to create that's so exciting. Yeah. And he's made us even push even further. And then she's executing on our crazy ideas. It's been amazing.
You've become a tech wizard. I love it, Lindsay. We're making the impossible happen. That's the sense I have. So when we talk a little bit about Armored Kingdom, I mean, everyone's probably like, wow, this is really interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about what do you want people to get out of this? How do you want people to experience it? And then, we are going to talk, and by the way, this is the Nier Town Hall, so we are going to be talking about Nier, but I do want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into how you want people to feel when they go into Armored Kingdom and experience it.
I think that it does play into Nier, because I think the reason we chose Nier and decided to all work together is because it was very accessible. And the one thing that we really wanted our game to be is to be accessible. We didn't want it to be, we didn't want to alienate the normies. And we didn't want it to feel like it's just an elitist game only for people that understand Web3 or only people that understand crypto or only people that understand NFTs. Like, I think that that's a dated concept. We did really genuinely and do wholeheartedly believe that this is a game that a 20-year-old kid can play and a 35-year-old stay-at-home mom can play just as well. And that's the thing that I think Nier has. It's the UI is incredibly easy. It's easy to build off. Everything about it's just really accessible. And that was the most important thing to us, is to make it not feel overwhelming and not make it feel so foreign. And I think when we dove into Web3 initially, by the way, this game lives a little Web3, a little Web2. It's a little bit of everything, which is maybe what's going to make it so different and super unique. And Nier was on board with us doing these absurd ideas. But the thing that we didn't want to do was have people be like, oh no, I'm very much against crypto. I'm not playing this game. We're like, that's okay. You don't need to be into crypto to play this game. Or people would be like, I am very much against Web3. We'd be like, that's cool too. You can still play this game. Like, every which way, to us, this was the most important part, was to make it fun, accessible, and easy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And anyone want to add anything else? Lisa?
Well, I mean, I love the idea of like, how do you want to feel playing this game? I mean, I want people to feel immersed. I want people to feel like they're part of the story. Like when they see a piece of armor that comes up that they've actually read about in one of the comics, I want them to be like, whoa, wait, that's there. I haven't seen that before. We want that sort of excitement. And
which is why I think building the game out on story first allows that to happen, is you're able to place the Easter eggs pretty early into the comics.
And then we really want to be able, I mean, one of the wonderful things about being on the blockchain is we can very easily like pull information, let people dig into fun parts of what the armors can do, what other players are doing, all of that sort of fun interaction and engagement. We want them to be able to be part of that.
100%. I mean, in anything as big as what we're trying to do here in terms of a world creation, it really is about being able to identify with those characters, like to go deeper into, and each of the different warring factions that exist within Armored Kingdom have their own, just kind of philosophies, understanding why they're there, what they do, and different people will gravitate to different types of those characters. So the goal is to put that maybe all in conflict, but just like human nature and I think the world, there are different ideas that fuel us all, and how we can express that through this great story. I think it was attributed to Maya Angelou, but people will forget what you hear, but they'll never forget what they feel. And I think our goal in this is really to create a game where people walk into an experience, they feel they can live these characters, and they can become a part of this world for years.
Which is where I think that the love of all of us share for sci-fi comes into play. I think sci-fi is allegory, and that's what makes sci-fi brilliant and great and relatable. And I think that so much of what this game is allegory. Not to get super heady, but that it is all built on real life issues, situations, thoughts, everything. That's like on the ground foundation. On the surface of it, it's really fun and really great, but it is at the end of the day sci-fi, so it does come with a lot of allegory.
Awesome. And Lindsay, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the game mechanics. And like, you guys are you're creating a story, you're designing a game as well, right? There's a lot of things that go into game mechanics, and how do you make it work? What are your thoughts around that so far?
Yeah, look, my thoughts are that I'm pretty glad that I'm working with the world's nerdiest gamers. Mila and Lisa wasting their youth is coming in very handy nowadays, I'll tell you. And they seem to have, sorry, I'm gay. And they seem to have quite a few friends that they're able to, drag out of certain places to come and give us some thoughts and feedback. But, I think I'm just having fun imagining people being able to collect and own things, right? So like as a collector of everything myself, it's really unimaginable that people have not been able to truly actually own assets and have that excitement merge with a world where people are used to ownership, but not in the way that it will translate in this with this new medium. So I'm really excited for people to be able to enjoy gameplay in a way that I see Lisa and Mila just getting fired up about, but then also recognize at the end of it that that stuff's really in their bag, which I think is very exciting.
I mean, if the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, my 5-year-old's obsessed with collecting Pokemon cards, as Lisa recently, obsessed, okay? Like, this has nothing to do with me. I was never a Pokemon. But the idea of collecting clearly is something that just resonates in so many little kids and adults. And I think that this game, and that's why I think the blockchain comes into an incredible use of, is you can't fake a collectible on a blockchain. You don't have to put a flashlight through that card to see if it's real or fake. You don't need to take a microscope to see when was it created? Does it have a star? Does it have a circle? Does it have a heart? It's all spelled out. You can't cheat the system. It's awesome. And even the idea of collectibles having a scratch and they're worth a little bit less, or they're pristine, they're worth a little bit more. All of that is in Armored Kingdom. We have all of that in it. If your character's got a little scratch, spoiler alert, maybe worth less a little bit later. You know what I mean? How much you play your cards is going to be dependent on the value of your card. The entire ethos of collecting, we are putting on the blockchain.
I love that. Maybe we can chat a little bit more about Nier as well. We already talked, Mila, you mentioned why you chose Nier, but
Nier is great, guys. We love Nier. It
is the Nier Town Hall. But maybe, let's talk a little bit about the environmental aspect, right, as well, I think. There is a reason you chose Nier as well, and I'm sure it has to also be aligned with, some sustainability positions there, so.
Yeah, we did a big hunt for a blockchain that we felt would be one that we could be in a partnership with for a really long time. And like Mila said, one that was incredibly simple, simple to use. We wanted, and Near stood out, like, you know, incredibly, both from being a blockchain that crypto folks really, really like, and has a lot of really interesting technical components running underneath it that we're big fans of, but then also being lightweight enough, and yes, environmentally friendly enough that we felt really strongly we could partner and enjoy and feel really good about that partnership and bring people to this world and universe that we really want to. I think that's one of the things that's really exciting about the entertainment space in general is thinking about how many people that are going to be able to use a technology that is complicated like a blockchain in a really easy way, where they don't really know that it's there. They're just enjoying a universe, they're enjoying a world, they're enjoying reading a comic. And so that was a key part of the decision-making process, and one that was dead simple when we looked at Near.
I also think early into one of our meetings with Near, they talked about like their mission statement as a whole as to where they see Web3 going. And I think that very much aligned with where we see it going. And so often we met with other blockchains that didn't necessarily align with our long-term plan. A lot of them had like a really short-term, like, you know, guns a-blazing, bull in a china shop concept, which I was like, that's cool for like 2 months, but what about like a year from now? And Near was one of the only companies that we met with that really did have a mission statement that aligned with where we think, who knows, but what we feel the Web3 is going into.
They really championed, I think, the kind of creativity we were bringing to something like this, to think out of the box, to really push something like that. So I feel, especially as we look at sort of the phases of where Web3 is going, we're so early. And, you know, obviously large of that is driven domestically here in the States, but, you know, international is going to be a huge part of this as we go forward.
Yeah.
For me in particular, a lot of my character work and work has been in the overseas markets. And there's such an alignment in how I think you're seeing that expansion over the next phases of its journey, which align with how we're thinking of both this property, but, you know, our own personal backgrounds. Yeah, and
I think our plan was we're going to be around for a very long time. We're building out a massive multiverse. And so I don't think that we needed or wanted to be somewhere where it was about like a get rich quick scheme. We wanted some place that was going to be around for a while.
Yeah, and I love what you guys are mentioning about accessibility, about, you know, this is a game that can grow with the generation. It can be eventually, you know, accessible in emerging markets. It has a lot of opportunities there for, you know, everyone from grandkids to grannies to be able to be part of this
the grannies can play a card trading game. Of course they can. Grannies love that.
Of course, why not, right? So let's talk a little bit about, you know, we talked a little bit about how you guys are seeing this in the long term, right? And there is an element eventually of, you know, potentially doing movies and creating content like that. What are your thoughts around that? Because I feel like, you know, a lot of people in the entertainment industry are trying to crack that code. Yeah. But you guys have something very solid because you're starting with story, you're starting with game, not thinking about, you know, the next blockbuster or something. You guys are starting with the true beginning of what makes a good story and a good game.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for it other than this is just a version of how to do it. And I think that where we are in the world of Web3 is this allows us to do it. So it's just being in the right place at the right time. And it's not to say that other people won't be doing it or wouldn't have done it. It's just that I think that the time just is now. I mean, honestly, like I don't think a year ago we would be able to do it. That's the truth. And I think that, you know, when we decided to go about this, maybe whenever we started this conversation 6 months ago, I think that less, Lisa?
More. I mean, it was like 9 months.
9 months ago, when we started that. I think it was we're still all really early in Web3. Like sometimes I forget that Web3 is still N of 1. Like there's not very many of us in it. And already you're like, what's the next thing that we can do? And so I think that we were just at the right place at the right time with like where tech was, what we were able to do, how quickly we were able to do it. I think that all of that has to align for this to happen. So I just think this is another way of creating a Marvel. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure that if they could have, they would have, but they did it 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago.
And do we want to make a big, massive live action movie of this? Yeah.
Yes. No question. Like, I mean, my world of what I want to do with this is so much bigger than I can even describe. There's no, because everything allows it to happen. Like, I wouldn't have thought that I ever would be given not that I couldn't create a card game, video game, or any of that, but I didn't think that it would be as accessible to me as it is today. And I think that Web3, call it near, the blockchain, all of that just gives you access to everything.
I think just echo all of that, because there are many different paths people can take, but what's true is a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And we're in an ecosystem right now where we are seeing such amazing creativity coming into Web3, and our hope is that this will be something that really is trying to think about the process, the creativity, and the product in a way that's unique and different, and offers all of that best coming there. But at the end is enduring, and is a character entertainment franchise that people are connected to for decades, right? That's really what we want to build here. And yeah, I think all the technology around lines up perfectly.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Lindsay, anything else you want to add?
I think just that, what makes this team really interesting, of course, is the strong entertainment background, but also sort of the swings that they've already taken and knocking down in the Web3 space. So like Stoner Cats being launched in last year, right? In August, August last year was there's a lot of learnings there, a lot of amazing firsts, which was really exciting. Like so many cool things that the team did around re-engineering contracts in the entertainment industry to fit this space. And then, the next project they've done with the gimmicks. Sherrod has launched an NFT project in India that was entertainment related. So, this is a team that has some pretty interesting hands-on experience, both across entertainment and Web3. And, I think it's a perfect squad here to get this done and launch a really exciting story for everyone.
I love it. That's great. And I think, as we kind of get towards the end of this town hall interview, any advice for, folks that are developers that are using Near and they hear what you guys are building, they get excited? Any advice for the people that are up and coming that might have an idea and haven't started developing it, or, what can they walk away with?
Look, I would say the Near development ecosystem has been really interesting in that there's a lot of really sophisticated resourcing that they've put into making sure that they're accessible, and that there's there's opportunity to connect directly with the people who have built the chain and the ecosystem. And there's also been some phenomenal introductions. Everybody's really well connected to one another and all very invested in making sure that the Near ecosystem is awesome. So everything from introductions to marketplaces within the ecosystem and other folks who are building games have been phenomenal. Twice a day, there's a development call that I can get on with Near developers where if I'm stuck on something, we can figure out right away. So by the time Lisa and Mila and Sherrod wake up, I have an answer. And, as we're going to bed again, I can get my follow-up answer. And it's, it's really professional and been really well done, and a really, really simple ecosystem to build inside of. So I think my 2 cents would be try opening a Near wallet. The experience is really, really interesting and so easy. And that was sort of like this magic moment for me when I first opened the Near wallet. I went, oh my God, this is dead simple. This doesn't feel like a blockchain in a lot of ways. So it was a really, really magic experience.
Yeah.
Let me just jump in and say,
oh yeah, go ahead, Lisa. Yeah,
Let me just jump in and say real quick, we don't sleep in. She's just 8 hours ahead of us. It's not like we.
That's true. I'm in London. They're 8 hours behind me. So when I say that they wake up, they're not getting up at noon.
No. What if you and I get to wake up at like 9:30 p.m.? Oh. Well, wouldn't that be nice? How about 8 p.m.?
But I also think for anyone coming in like to Web3 right now, the hardest thing is just feeling like there's so much out there that I don't understand. Yeah. And I think that for a lot of entrepreneurs or creators or developers that want to just jump in, and I think it's all about this ecosystem, as Lindsay's saying. The ecosystem is incredibly friendly and supportive. And what I find is, I have to say, Mila and Lisa really took me down the rabbit hole, right? Like when they brought me into this project, I had no idea just how much learning there was, but how much fun it is. So they brought me into a world that, I had not known as much of before. So I would strongly encourage the first step's the hardest step in this, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to get in, trying to understand, but certainly doing your learnings, trying to get into the communities, because these communities are very open, accessible, and, wanting to build it much bigger than what it is right now. So I love it. It's so fundamentally different than traditional Hollywood ecosystems in some way that I find it very refreshing and just incredibly fun. So.
Yeah. There just definitely seems to be a lot of collaboration and openness right now. And I mean, that's kind of where we're towards what we're all building, right? I have 2 more questions left for the panel. The next one is, if we were having this town hall in 5 years, what do you think Armored Kingdom would look like then?
What do we think that
futurist hat on, my friends?
Wait, say this, Kathy. What do we think in 5 years? What's gonna
in
what?
5 years? If I was doing this interview in 5 years, we're doing a check-in on Armored Kingdom. What is happening at that point with Armored Kingdom? So.
Oh boy, who are you gonna ask? Me? Who gets my
anyone that wants to put their futurist hat on.
We have Lisa. Well, how much can I say?
I know that. I mean, that's where I'm like, ooh.
I don't know. I can tell you, but I also don't know how much I can say. I think the idea is, and I'll just say it, I played a lot of video games that were like, maybe like World of Warcraft type of games, right? And I also consume lots of comics, and I love sci-fi. So if you can just take the best of those, that's what I want this to be in 5 years. Like that would be my dream, is to create worlds where Armored Kingdom has an outlet such as that, where you can go and play in a big video game, okay? Where like there's like everything, where essentially we're building out a massive IP. And so it's all about creating the world that's rich, that you can mine from, that you can build off of. And then the ultimate plan would be hopefully that people in Web3 would join this community and they themselves can do things with it. And that's the beautiful thing about Web3, is the fact that this can launch itself into other aspects that people can build on top of. You know what I'm saying?
Anyone, not speaking specific for Armored Kingdom, but almost anyone starting anything now and jumping in has to be thinking a lot of the points that Mila just raised, but certainly what's the creator economy component of this? And how are creators, really adding to building, creating, being a part of where this shapes and goes forward? But metaverse is going to be a big part of this as well. I think the picks and shovels of that ecosystem are just getting started. So we almost don't know what will be unlocked, 5 years from now. But in an idealized world, you're going to have incredible tools that we can't even begin to imagine today. But what will drive those tools will be great stories, characters, connection, community. And if we have all of that coming together, I think then for us at least, we want to be at the forefront of all of those innovations. And I think that's where, it's just been an amazing group of people that want to take risks and want to say, let's go for it and push it. So as soon as those picks and shovels come, I have no doubt we'll be the ones trying to say, what can we do to enhance the Armored Kingdom at that point and push it? But I think metaverse will be a big.
I mean, it's just metaverse is such an easy answer, right? Like that's my answer for everything. I feel like, where do you see anything going? I'm like, the metaverse, but like because it makes so much more. It makes sense, like right. It just makes sense right now, and it will happen. There's no question about it. No matter how much people want to say like it's not there yet, no, but it will be. The bigger question is, are we going to be living in a metaverse, or are we going to be wearing the metaverse? And I think that that's the more interesting debate of in 5 years, are you going to be wearing a t-shirt that someone can scan and all of a sudden it'll pop up as, like for us, call it like an armor, right? Or whatever it'll be. Will we be immersed in goggles in a metaverse? Possibly, but we could also be wearing a metaverse. So there's so many different ways that you can interpret what the metaverse is, that I also don't want people to get landlocked in the idea of wearing goggles and that we're all going to be living in WALL-E.
No, I actually think some of the basic ways games have evolved, that people feel more functionally building their community, watching concerts in, experiencing so much of their life in now. If you think of that as the new operating system, I think we'll see a lot of metaverse combining those tactics as new operating systems as we go forward. Forgetting about AR, VR, and what may be MR and brain machine implants, right? Like that may happen, but we may be a little bit away from that. But I definitely doubt we will be on a similar interaction like this on this in 5 years.
Yeah.
Those cats all went tech, Kathy. So I'm going to tell you, and look, I want the NFT community and the crypto community to calm down already, because I'm not saying this is going to happen. But I would like to actually, because I've come from the tech world, experience what it's like to create a piece of film with these guys. So that's maybe really analog, but I would love to see Armored Kingdom be a feature film in the next 5 years.
You think about the ideas of just where film can go in Web3 and what could happen. I mean, the opportunity for people to own pieces of a film and connect them together to create scenes, or kind of just different ways that community can help in the creation of IP and films. But I think across the board on media, you're going to see a lot of very innovative things.
And I love that everyone's talking about the future, but it's about the human experiences of today and in the future, right?
Mhm.
It's about those shared human experiences whichever reality we're in, whichever world we're in. But I use a phrase I always say in the metaverse: we're all world builders, and now is our time to build. And I absolutely love what you guys are building, the world you're building, and also the inspiration you're giving everyone as you guys build and really create the future. So thank you. Thanks for joining us today. So
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for joining. This was actually awesome. It was, we told you, our biggest town hall ever. We're so super proud to have had the amazing, actually, special panel of the month that you heard, to have been able to share with you the news of what we've been actually sharing here at Consensus, but also the roadmap and what's coming up. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to actually seeing you very soon.